Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the UnLearnT podcast. I'm your host, Ruth Abigail, aka RA.
What up, friends? It's your girl, Jaquita.
And this is the podcast that is helping you gain the courage to change your mind so that we can all experience more freedom.
Hey, friends, folks, people, saints, and friends, all right? We need you to like, share, and subscribe, all right? Become part of the community, right? We're out here unlearning. We're out here bearing our souls for the sake of your growth and development, okay? Please, if you could, but please. All right, just hit that like button, share it with a friend. If it helped you, all right, be a good friend, let it help somebody else. Amen. Y'all, and also hit that notification bell. If you're like, man, every time I miss it, every single time, hit the bell so that it will alert you when new episodes drop. We do drop them every Tuesday, all right, like clockwork. All right, unless it's a holiday, some holidays, listen, it be like that.
One of us might be sick, or may have lost our voice because we.
I feel like Ruth would make me record if I was sick. She'd be like, "Hey, can you just get on? And maybe we just do a video, or maybe we could just do it. Maybe we do 30 minutes instead of like." But nah, for real, like, share, and subscribe, y'all.
Like, share, and subscribe, guys. So, all right, so we're in the series, The Kitchen Table. Unlearning things from the kitchen table, and so far we've talked about unlearning like how to defeat your giant of normal, like what you grew up as what is.
It was
normal.
A good one.
That was a good one, guys. Like if you haven't checked this out, go back and check that out. Quita, what was our last one?
We talked about emotional vulnerability, unlearning emotion, or unlearning, like kind of suppressing your emotions.
Yeah, and kind of like unlearning some of the maybe the habits of dealing with emotions that you may have experienced in your younger years around your either your family, your community, and what it looks like to do that now. That was a good one too. That was a lot.
That was a real good one. We was unpacking the stuff
we were
in these streets.
We really do be bearing souls.
Yeah, we're about to do it again.
We're
about to do it one more time for y'all.
Do it for y'all, man.
All right, so listen. All right, don't let my vulnerability and transparency go to waste.
What you
okay, y'all make sure, like, if this is helping you in any way, please encourage my soul and leave a comment and be like, "Thank you, Ruth and Jaquita, because of the sacrifice you made." I changed my life, okay? Right. We need to hear that. Or else I'm going to be like, listen, I'm going to start pulling some cookie cutter lessons off of Google, okay? How to teach people about emotional vulnerability, okay?
Yeah. Use somebody else's story.
We love what we do. We love it.
We do. And we have a good time doing it. We are about to dive into another very relevant topic.
It's touchy.
Can be touchy for sure.
Touchy.
And yeah, so I actually, man, I had like a lead in and I forgot it. You know what I'm saying? Like I was gonna do a whole thing and now I don't forgot what it is.
Okay, listen, y'all. We talking about them dollar bills today, okay? We talking about that coin, okay? That guap, all right?
Wow.
That cheddar, okay? Y'all remember that when that Beyonce, the Destiny's Child song came out? And everybody was like, ladies, leave your man at home. The club is full of ballers and they pocket full of... What was that word? What was that word?
We're talking about...
It doesn't matter.
Pockets full grown. That's what it was.
Pockets full grown. We were lost. We were lost.
You didn't know what that meant?
No, nobody around me knew that the verse. Back then, how many of y'all thought you knew the words to a song, and then as you got older,
what did you think they
realized that wasn't it? We all thought it was pockets full of grown, and we was like, we don't know what grown is, but okay,
that's hilarious.
Jamming, wrong words.
You know why? Because I'm from Houston. That's why, and that's where they from. And that's why I know.
Okay, because you can understand. But anyways, y'all, we're talking about money. We're talking about what we learned around the kitchen table about finances, and then what we then had to unlearn.
Yep.
What we then what we then had to say, that wasn't quite right. Let me reverse, back it up, put it in neutral, and figure this thing out. Yeah. So we're talking about unlearning from around that financial kitchen table. My lord.
Yeah, man, and it's something we have to yes, it's something we really really have to spend some time doing. Money is one of those weird things that, like, it's, at least I know growing up for me, it was one of those things that in our family we didn't talk about like that. Like, we just didn't talk about
Mm,
money. Like not, we didn't talk about, but we didn't talk about how much money. We didn't talk about amounts of money. We talked about money as a topic, but we didn't get into the details. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And and I was kind of taught, like, hey, you don't, we don't discuss, you don't ask people how much they make. You don't, we're not discussing how much we make, none of that stuff. Um, and all, so like it was just, so there was a part of this idea that money, the idea of your money business was to be undisclosed, but at the same time,
Mm,
um it was important. It's important. So it's
yeah.
like, on one hand, I'm not supposed to really talk about it, get into the details. On the other hand, it's supposed to be very important, something I really need to understand. And
Well,
so, how did that happen in your house?
I don't know. I think the thing about money is that even when you don't talk about it, the money has images, right? It's the
Mm-hmm.
house we lived in, it's the car
Yeah.
we drove, right? It's the clothes we wore. I
Mm.
remember in high school, like, realizing that I was not going to get a pair of Air Force Ones. And it was give me two, like, everybody had Air
Dang.
Force
Yeah.
Ones. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just knew not to even ask. Like,
Mm.
I knew that, like, that wasn't gonna be within the realm of possibility for my life,
Yeah.
right? And to me, it was always like, even though, we never specifically talked about money, I knew that my mom worked so hard because it wasn't a whole lot of money
Right.
going around, right? I knew that, like, I looked at the difference between, like, single parent homes and two parent homes.
Yeah.
And for me, there was always this invisible balance
Mm.
that was letting me know, okay, there's money over here, not as much over there.
Right.
They might have a little money, he might have a little money, but it ain't much money right here. And
Yeah.
so I think money is both invisible, but also very, very
I
visible.
really think that's a great point. I think that you might think you make a great point. Money is visible. Um, but here's what's interesting to me. Money is visible, and a lot of times that can be deceptive,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like money is visible, but it can also, that visibility can be deceptive, because just because you see money doesn't mean people have it. And a lot of times it's not their money that you see. It's the banks and the credit cards.
Listen.
So, I mean, I think that's something I did have to unlearn, is like, hey, all this stuff that people have, they probably are in debt because of it, and have put themselves in a position to where they want to be seen like they have money. But if you
Mm-hmm.
look behind the curtain, ain't really much, but it ain't really much there.
Yeah. I think that was something that I had to unlearn if we want to hop in, right? And I'm going to do something that it just kind of just came to mind. But I think one of the things that my mind was not really at all grasping was this idea of debt,
Mm.
right? Like,
Uh-oh. All right.
because money. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mm-mm, no, go.
I'm
No.
sorry.
It's
This
coming back.
idea of debt, because I don't, there were no credit cards. There
Mm.
were no, I found out much later. My mom would tell me that, like, there were a couple of loans that were taken. I saw my mom and my family, like, hey, let me borrow $20. Let me get $100 over here. Like, the exchange of money was happening on the level that we were at,
Yeah.
right? Like, it was,
Mm.
hey, like, my cousin gonna help out with this, or my friend gonna help out with that. But it was always on kind of like a level playing field. And when you think about things like debt, like, what could be considered good debt sometimes, or what can be just considered like the ability to use money that you don't have,
Mm.
is actually like a middle class trait,
Yeah.
right? Like, this idea of, I'm going to use debt to fund a lifestyle. is not always as present, or it wasn't present at my kitchen table.
Mm,
Like I don't ever remember seeing a credit card being whipped out and being like, hey, put it on the black card. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
let me get my American Express out. Like, it was, the idea of debt was frightening,
Yeah.
because it's like, we already don't have everything we need. Why in the world would we want to go in debt? No, we don't do debt.
Yeah.
We don't do that. And so, like, this idea of being able to access a life by kind of kicking the can down the road and pulling from money that you don't have, that you're saying, I will have it over the next 10 years, I'll be able to pay for the life that I'm living now. I
Mm,
think that is something that I like. When I got access to it, like when I got a credit
mm-hmm.
card, I was like, oh, I'm about to, y'all want to go on a trip? I
Yeah.
can pay for the plane ticket. Y'all want to, and I went overboard because it was a life that was completely unfamiliar to me.
I think you're making that is an excellent point. It's interesting. I didn't grow up with debt around my table either, at my kitchen table. We did not play with debt. Jacqueline Smith, that is my
Oh
mother.
no, she ain't playing with that.
Yeah, like she had me. I mean, I currently have a credit card. I didn't get one until I got out of debt, and the only reason I got one was to get rental cars, because I don't like the hold on my debit card. And I but it took me until I was good and in my 30s to even get
Mm.
one. I was scared of them. I wouldn't fool with it. And so we grew up with this constant story of my grandfather, whose father lost everything during the Great Depression, and he saw how the banks
Mm.
messed up the money that they tried to get it out so he could survive, didn't get it, and that shaped my grandfather's understanding of money and debt and banks. So when he got successful, this is my mom's father. When he got successful, he was an entrepreneur, very successful entrepreneur in a small town that they grew up in. He didn't fool with banks. Everything he did was in cash. He paid for everything in cash. And that was how my mom grew up. So that's how we
Mm.
grew up. We grew up with very like we don't do credit cards, we don't do debt. My father grew up a very different way. His family grew up, they didn't have a lot, and he tells a story of, um my mom would pay her bills months in advance. My father grew up understanding you pay the bill when they come ask for the bill.
No, but for real though.
You know what I'm
But for real
saying?
though. Tell me y'all ain't had to
What
avoid
you said?
the credit card people calling on the phone. The what they call it, the bill collectors
Yeah.
calling your phone. You
Yeah.
see an unknown number. When they came out with caller ID, let me
Oh
tell you
yeah.
something.
Oh
Caller
yeah.
ID changed the game.
Oh, for
Okay?
sure.
Changed the game. Okay, you look at that caller ID. I don't know that number. We ain't answering
Mm-mm.
that. Okay, might be a bill collector.
And I grew up with a pretty balanced understanding of money, but I grew up with parents from two very different perspectives and different habits that they had.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And so we and we'll talk about it a little later, but I think that there were a lot of things that I absolutely I had to unlearn because of my own immaturity and what I saw growing up, and made some just assumptions around things, you know.
Ooh.
And it wasn't necessarily what I was taught, but it's what I thought I saw and understood. And I really didn't. It's like, no, 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 that's not really what we meant. And so as I got older, I started to understand some things.
Yeah.
Um, but the debt thing was a very very I just, you get away from it. And I think you're right. I love what you said about the you're trying to fund a life that you don't currently have access to. It's like this
Mm-hmm.
idea of, and there is a, to some degree, that attitude of entitlement, right? That you see in a lot in America, where you feel like, I deserve that, so I'm going to go get it even though I can't afford it. And to me, that is a mindset that we've all been there in some form or fashion. I deserve it.
Child.
I'm gonna go get it, even though I can't afford it. And but it has defined generations. It has defined,
Yeah.
I would say, probably our generation and the generation right above us, Gen X. That has really defined that. Like, nope, I
Mm-hmm.
deserve it. I'm gonna go get it, even though I can't afford it. And then you look back and you have to continue to work for what you got when you couldn't afford it.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I'm sorry I'm jumping through these points, but I'm going to hit them as they come. Here's the thing. The things that we're buying that we can't afford don't have any real value. Right? They are not things that are going to be accruing value as you hold them.
Yeah.
Like you're going out and getting nice bags, and I was saying for a long time, I was like, I'm not buying another bag until it's name brand, because I've never had a name brand purse. I've never bought myself a
Yeah.
name brand purse. One landed in my hands accidentally, which is a whole nother story. But I have never sat down and went to a designer store and bought myself a purse. And I had that set. But then after a while I said, Jaquita, you just need something to hold your things.
Mm,
Right? Like there
mm,
will be a time where you will be able to, out of your abundance, buy that thing, but we're not buying something just so that we can have the name on us.
yeah.
Right? And we get so consumed with this idea of I deserve, because, and a lot of times it's I deserve because I've had it so hard, or because I had to
Mm,
work so hard, or because I haven't had it for so long.
yeah.
I should have it.
Yeah.
And let me tell y'all something. I lived in that treat yourself mentality, okay?
Yeah.
I was out there in them streets, just not name brand, but I was like, hair done, nails done. I'm gonna go where I want to go. I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then it will not, the appetite that you have for financial success and financial wealth will not be met by going out and buying things that don't have value.
So I think a question that is something for, I mean, we can answer it, and just for anyone listening to answer, is how do you define value? Um like, what does that mean? How do you define it? How do you know it's valuable to you?
So I think you have to sit down with something, and I'm trying not to get into the story because I'm about to in a minute.
Okay.
But you have to something that is valuable. In the Bible, everybody says this prayer, like the prayer of Jabez.
Hmm.
Enlarge my territory, right? And everybody starts praying like, Lord, just give me more, enlarge it. I want to be able to have more and do more and have more impact, right? Whatever you get that is of value should be able to be used for a higher purpose in your life.
Hmm.
This is how I define value, right? Like I'll use this example before I get into my other example. My car, all right? I had a wonderful car. Her name was Miracle. Okay, her name was Miracle because she was going to take me from one miracle to the next. All right, she was a Ford Escape. She was a 2014 Ford Escape. She was beautiful, okay? And for 8 good years, Miracle held me down.
Mm.
Okay, Miracle, let me tell you something. Miracle never had no real big breakdowns. Just had to put up some brakes on her one time. And Miracle was holding me down. I got to my new job in 2022. I started working where I had a 1 hour commute to work and a 1 hour commute back. As I'm driving, I'm like, Miracle is she's taking hits,
Mm.
like that mileage. I'm looking at that mileage and it's whipping around. It is whipping around. And I had a choice. I could either buy a new car, right? Or I could, Miracle was starting to shut down. She wouldn't crank up some days.
Oh.
Miracle be like, I'm tired, boss. I was tired. I'd be in Miracle, and I'd be like, come on, baby, you got it. You over there pressing again. Come on, baby, you can. No, Miracle's like,
Yeah, she was done.
Mama, this is it.
This is it.
This is the end of the road for
This is
us,
it.
right? I went and I was looking for a new car, and what I wanted in a new car was for her to do what Miracle did. Like, hey, I just need you to take me from point A to point B. I ain't really looking for much else. I got a friend took me to a car lot and we found this car. It was older, but it had really low miles on it, but it was huge. It was huge. I was like, what am I going to do with this 8-seater car?
It is a large car.
Like, it
Yeah.
is a large car.
Yeah.
But I knew I sat in that car, I drove that car around. When we got to the lot, we drove that car around. That car is so nice. The seats are leathery and cushiony, and you just sink into it, and it's a beautiful atmosphere. But when we got back, I was like, let me go find a car more like Miracle. Went, found a smaller car. As soon as I got in that car, I was like, this is not where I'm at in my life anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I had moved from going from miracle to miracle to glory to glory. That's the name of my new car. All right. Her name is Glory. Okay. Because she's going to take me, not just a miracle.
Oh
Okay.
Lord, I tell you,
She going to take
you
me.
can make anything
She
spiritual,
going
bro.
to take me from glory to glory,
Golly.
y'all. Okay. And it's a GMC Acadia. Guess what Acadia means?
Oh boy.
Come on here. Place of plenty. Get
Oh
with it.
boy.
All right.
Oh
All right.
boy.
So,
Plenty of
but when I,
room. Go ahead.
but I had to, the value of the car was not just that the car was a little bit less expensive than some of the other newer models. The value of the car was everything I'm able to do in this car. You know what I'm saying? I drove up before your wedding. You know, I was like, hey, we whipping through the streets of Memphis. All right, I'm getting you to all your appointments. Do you know how much furniture I've carried in the back of this car?
I believe that.
Like when I went to Goodwill and they said, hey, you want this dresser for $40? Put it in the back. You hear what I'm saying? Somebody was like, hey, you want this desk? Put it in the back. I got patio furniture in the back. I've now driven my family on at least 3 family vacations. Okay, everybody get in here. Everybody got a seat. Everybody's comfortable, you know, and all of that. So the value of it was not even in what I was able to do with the car. The value of it was how it expanded my life.
Yeah.
You know, as a single woman, I didn't have to go find somebody with a truck to get stuff when I needed to get it, right? I could take my family on family trips. I could, you know, and I didn't see that at the time, but the value is, how is this feeding, how is this pushing me to the next level of my life?
And
sorry, that was a very long story.
It's a great story. I think it's an excellent example. And I think that I agree with that. I think the value is sometimes seasonal. You know, you can't always, it's like, but how you define it, and I think that's what you just said there. You know, you define it by understanding what is it that you need that's going to take you to the next level. Whatever those things are is what's going to be valuable. I remember when I was working at my previous job before I came full-time at Angel Street, and had a great relationship with my boss. He was a mentor of mine. And so I remember we had a conversation. You know, I was never one to ask about a raise. That's, you know, that's something I just never did. And
You just gonna thug it out.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I'm thugging out, but I was just like, I just didn't think about it. Honestly, I didn't think about it. It's not something that crossed my mind. I never really thought I should have more money for what I'm doing. It just never crossed my mind. But I also think because
crosses my mind almost every day.
But and I'll get to this later because I actually think this is I'm as I'm talking, I'm like, oh shoot, yeah, that's something I definitely had to unlearn. But I had a conversation and he was saying, you know, we'll get a little bit of a raise this year. I was like, okay, cool. And I remember telling him, I said, I appreciate that. And I would, you know, I appreciate it, but I want you to know I value the freedom that I have with this role more than I value the money. So if there's ever a discrepancy, I would not take more money to continue to have the freedom that I have to do some of the other things I was doing. And I remember saying that, and I was like, I'm cool. Like, you had to give me no more money, because at that time, what was valuable to me was freedom. 100%. You could pay me the bare minimum as long as I'm able to have some autonomy over my time and my energy and where I put it. I'm good. I'm cool. I'll figure the money part out. But I would much rather be in a position where I could be free with my movement than be tied down because you're paying me a lot of money. I don't want that.
But see,
Uh
I think that that's the level of freedom when you realize that there are things that are more important than money. And you have to
yes.
be able to name them. That's when you have real bargaining power.
100%. 100%. And I think that that is something that I've had to unlearn, and I think that we have to unlearn, is that you have more bargaining power when you everything isn't tied to how much you make.
Mm-hmm.
Um because unless you're working for yourself, you'll never control that. And that's just a
Mm.
reality. Somebody else is going to control how much you get. And so if your decisions are tied to how much you make, and then you can't live into the reality of your values at the level you could if that wasn't the case.
Yeah,
you know
no, I think that's so good because I think that we base a lot of decisions. And I know that I feel like I was, even when you grow up and shout out to all my first gen college students,
mm,
right?
mhm,
Like
mhm,
all the hope was on you.
mm.
They was like, they gonna make it out. And the idea was they gonna make it out and make more money. Okay,
Yeah,
like that was kind of like the addendum that nobody was saying.
yeah, that's real. Yeah,
Everybody was like, our baby gonna make it to college, right? And the idea was that college is gonna come with some more money.
that's right.
Because and if you grew up financially insecure,
Mm,
meaning that there was some area of your financial wellness growing up that felt unsteady, unsure, we don't know how it's gonna work out this time around, right? Everybody is banking on you being secure, and they will feel like, and you're almost thinking like, I got to get them a return on their investment, right? Like
mm,
everybody poured into me, people picking me up from 5 million different clubs,
yeah.
and sacrificing. My mom wouldn't let me work a job when I
Mm,
was in high school because she was like, focus on them books, you know what
mm,
I'm saying, because you got to go to college, right? But then I realized, one, when you get to college, especially when we went to college in the early 2000s, okay, we came out of college, we was like, oh, this degree really don't guarantee a good check, do it?
and guarantee a
Eh,
bill.
this degree really don't.
Shoot.
This degree, because we was thinking, hey, you go to college, you gonna come out making about 50, 60. You know
Ha!
what I'm
I'm
saying?
sorry, that was
I went
loud.
to college.
Man,
I
look.
went to college. I went to undergrad. I went to grad school, got a master's. I had 2 degrees from 2 good colleges.
Yep.
Okay. If you throw them names, I used to throw them names around. Like, don't play with me. Do you know where I went to college? The first job I got, I was working at a nonprofit, and they said, we're gonna offer you a salary of $33,000, and we know you young folk like to negotiate. We don't do that here. And I said, yes, ma'am, I'll take it. Thank you. Because I had been without a job for a year. Okay.
Dang.
I had been sleeping on a good friend, best friend's couch. Shout out to Janae. I slept on Janae's couch for a year. Okay. And I tell you, she's come on to a fresh cooked meal. Okay. Fresh cooked. All right. Can I fluff your pillows, Janae?
Dang.
Like, but
Dang.
the idea that like success is tied to making money, which is tied to, you got to do something we recognize.
Mm.
Right. My family
Mm.
did not recognize that. When I changed my major to religion, it was not, oh, my baby done found the Lord.
Right.
It was, what you gonna do with that?
Uh-huh.
This is what all my sacrificing was for?
Uh-huh.
This is what I worked 3 jobs for? So you can go and be a religion major, baby. You can go to church for free.
I
Why is you
can't.
becoming a religion? You know what I'm saying?
Because
Like,
because they have a point. I mean, let's be real. Like there's some, it's like, you know what? I understand that. That makes a lot of sense. You making good sense. Makes
at the
I get
time, I
that.
was zealous.
Yeah. You look
Yeah,
back and you're like,
but
you know what?
I look back and when I tell you, I should have been in them STEM programs. When I tell you, I'm out here getting these humanities degrees, no one cares.
No,
Okay,
no
I
one
should have been out here
cares.
dissecting frogs and
But
insects.
you can still preach. You can preach and have a STEM and have a scientific degree where you can they do that all the time.
Girl, let me tell you something. I wish I do be thinking about that. I'm like, Jaquita, so you ain't want to double make you ain't want to add a little something to that,
That's
like.
funny.
But listen, the Lord provides.
Amen.
Okay, but I do think that when we think about money, and when we think about, like, especially me, what I grew up thinking about money was, I'm supposed to be the one that breaks us out of the cycle.
Yeah.
And when you put that pressure on yourself, but you don't realize, like, baby, with what tools? Like,
Yeah.
you have so much to unlearn about money, because when you grow up without a lot of money, you also don't know the boundaries and the rules of money, right? So when you get it, let me tell you the prayer I've been praying since probably about November last year.
Mm.
I said, Lord, I have learned to be abased. Okay, you know how Paul says, I have learned to both be abased and to be abound. I said, Lord, I got the abased down. All right, I know how to be broke.
There
All
you go.
right, I know how to not have enough.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm very good at it. It's almost scary how good
Mm.
I am at it. Like, when I get down to my last $20, I be like, watch me work, baby. Hold on. Don't nobody even, don't nobody
Jaquita.
even. When Christmas time came around, and I was like, the money a little short. When I tell you I got Christmas gifts for everybody who was out there hustling, using birthday coupons, making a thing shake, I said, I'm too good at this. I'm too good. I'm way too good at being a base.
Mm.
Like, Lord, I'm an expert. I'm at the expert level. I'm a master. I got
Uh-huh.
my PhD. I've written my dissertation. All right, they quoting me in the research. All right, they're like, and as Ross stated in her 2011
Jaquita.
book, I'm telling you, I got it down pat. I said, Lord, I don't need to learn this no more.
Uh.
This lesson is learned. I now like to unlearn that, as a matter of fact, because I need to learn this life of
Mm.
abundance.
Mm.
And it is literally, I don't think I realize that it really is. You have to take off one mindset, and
Yeah.
you have to adopt, you have to grow into learning how to live the way that God intended for us to live. That has to be learned. It's not just natural.
Yeah, and I do want to though maybe and Go- when you say the way God intended for us to live, because I feel like going back to the piece of it, you know, the way God intended, and even what abundance means, right? The way God intended for us to live, I think we automatically equate abundance with money. Like it's an automatic,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we think. And I don't think that that's true. I don't think that that is the most complete way I think to interpret what God's abundance is. Um, but that's what
Mm-hmm.
we do. And I think so like the the, the idea of living in abundance and having an abundant life, you know, how could that possibly look? Because you okay, think of it like this, right? You look at people who have a lot, and this is something I had to unlearn because I grew up with people who had a lot of wealth. I went to a school with very very wealthy people, um and we were not we weren't that like I was very much in an environment that was where I didn't experience the same thing in my house that others did in theirs. And so as far as like the visible stuff, right, like we were talking about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
um, but as I grew up, and began to see some of my peers and their lives kind of unfolding in their adulthood, that idea of abundance and what it really looked like to have an abundant life,
Mm.
and how money played a role in that, I began to shift. I had to unlearn what I thought. I really thought that money is what's going to make you abundant, like because that's what I saw.
Yeah.
And then as people got older and they started really a lot of some people just unraveling, and you start to see that, and it's like money does not money did not
Mm.
give you the abundant life. And I saw the difference in
Mm-hmm.
people who didn't have a lot, um, but their
Mm.
life was abundant, like for
My
real.
Lord. Yeah.
And than people
Ooh.
that had a lot and their life was lacking. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think we do have to unlearn it. It's hard. And it's one of those things I feel like it seems kind of obvious when you think about it, but it's been so ingrained in us. It's been ingrained
Mm-hmm.
in our theology. If we let's just be real about it, that a lot of our Western theology teaches, whether directly or indirectly, that God's biggest blessing for you will be in your pocketbook.
My Lord. Okay, I have two strains of thoughts that I want to get in on that. The scripture that came to mind when you were talking, and this is not to be down on anybody, but I do think that there are, when we think about kind of like this idea of like, money brings the sense of happiness, brings the sense of peace, or brings the sense of like purpose, right? I think that you are absolutely right that there is an abundance of life that is not encapsulated by how much money you have. In fact, it is the people who have less sometimes who gain the more in other areas of their life.
That's
And I
right.
think that that is something that I've had to unlearn. Like I had to go back, look at my life, and capture all of the rich moments that were
Mm,
there, all of the rich lessons, all of the rich virtues,
mm,
the rich work ethic, the rich sense of family and community, the rich sense of an identity that is not built on how much you have or how much you can get, but how well you treat people, how well you
mm,
treat yourself. Like you see, as a person who is, and let me say this, I was also blessed by a mom that was very progressive. So
mm,
I wasn't just watching her
mm,
struggle. I was
mm.
watching her grow
Yeah, that's
and
good.
pull out of a
That's really good.
circumstance
That's really
and
good.
getting from one level to the next. And because we were all young, like I was literally watching as it happened and watching my mom become a homeowner and
Mm,
watching my mom, not have to work as many jobs, but find like that one that, I watched my mom prosper,
yeah.
but also prosper while maintaining the same virtues and values that made her rich to begin with. And so I do
Mm,
think that there
that's
is a
good.
sense where you have to redefine, when I think rich and wealthy are different,
Mm,
right? I think rich means that something is full of goodness,
mm,
right? Like when you say like the soil is rich with nutrients, right? Or something is rich with a substance. You have to be able to look inside yourself and say, regardless of how much funds are in the bank, what do I have an abundance of
that's
that I
right.
can, and then that abundance, whatever you have an abundance of, can continue to create abundance for you,
That's
right?
right.
What are the things that are abundant in your character, that are richly embedded in who you are and in what you do well? Whatever you have an abundance of, that's where your abundance is going to come out of, right? And you have to learn to put value on what's valuable inside of you so that you can create the value, what I'm saying, outside of you. And so
Mm,
I do think that there's something really meaningful. And I think if you have money, money can be a distraction, because you're like, I don't have to build my integrity or build my values or build
that's
my
right.
virtues, because I can just pay for things and
Mm,
I can cover this, and then you keep going after the money. But like you said in the beginning, chasing after money does not build value,
no.
right? What are you rich in that nobody can take away from you?
That's and what's what is this, and this is the this is the what's the word I'm looking for, counter kind of intuitive nature of what this is. It's like people, the most successful people understand the concept of value. The best businesses have tapped into what's valuable for you
Mm-hmm.
as a customer, and then
Mm-hmm.
they meet you with value, which is why um some of the most lucrative businesses, it's not about They know that the price is not the problem. And as you as the consumer is going to pay for what's valuable. They don't set the price based on what you can afford. They set the price based on the value. And then you as the consumer opt into it based on what's valuable to you.
Ooh, come on here now. Yeah.
So you have this, what ends up happening is you learn that exchange of value is what builds the cash flow, right?
Whoa, that is good.
That's
That
what
is
builds it.
good.
You don't go after money, you don't go after
Mm-hmm.
people's pockets, you go after value.
Whew,
And that's what
whew.
builds the cash. Okay, that's just,
Wait a minute. That's good.
that's true.
That's good. That's a life changer for somebody, right? Because I know for me personally, even like I get irritated on jobs when I feel like I'm not making enough. I'd be like, somebody need to give me more money, right? But am I increasing the value that I add?
That's it.
Because the
That's right.
value, even if I outgrow that role, there is somebody else that will value the work that I've done
Exactly.
internally and will give me an opportunity that will match what I have on the inside. But if you're chasing the coin,
you're
it's
you're
never
under
going to work.
you're undervaluing yourself, because at the end of the day, the little two, three, five, $10,000 that they're gonna give you is actually not what you're worth. You're worth more because if you have the ability to add more value than $10,000 to your check.
Yeah.
But when you just look for what can I do for the 10,000, you sell yourself short.
Yeah.
And so I just and I understand, this is why, um this is why I'm so passionate about um young professionals focusing more on what they
Ooh,
add.
wait.
Mhm.
Cause no,
The
no, 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 no.
mhm.
We're just so connected. Cause I was there. I was there. I was there. Go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
so passionate about young professionals understanding how to add more value and not just
Yes.
searching for
Oh
a
my
larger
God.
paycheck. And so here's the thing, right? Here's the thing we have to unlearn. You got to unlearn, and what I had to unlearn again is that money, the hardest thing about money is to get it. I had to unlearn that because that's not true. The
Mm.
hardest thing about money is to keep it. But if you learn how to keep it, you won't worry about getting it. That makes sense, right? Okay, I had to. That is the truth.
Wait a minute. Say that one more time,
If
cause it
you
just hit.
if you learn how to keep money, you won't
Uh
have to
huh.
worry about going to get it.
But no, oh God. Okay, first of all, can I jump in real quick?
Jump,
One, thank you. I appreciate it.
no problem.
Before while you were talking, I was just thinking, I was like, I gotta speak. There are those of you are in the audience right now, and you are unsettled at the place you are in at life right now, specifically financially. You are unsettled, you feel unsure, you feel underappreciated, you feel like you should have more, you feel that you need more, right? And what I want to tell you, oh Jesus. What I want to tell you is that we are in a ripe season. Do not pay attention to what you are seeing happening. We are in a ripe season for your purpose to meet your destiny.
Yep.
Right? Your destiny is where you will end up. Your purpose is what you will accomplish. Right? We are in the right season for a purpose to meet destiny. Right? And you are on the right track. And just because you don't see it in
Mm.
front of you right now, I need you to know that your value just went up and that what is supposed to meet you is about to meet you at the level that you've been investing in yourself. And so don't get
Yeah.
discouraged or dismayed because the opportunity hasn't come yet. You are sitting on a gold mine. There is a gold mine on the inside of you, and the opportunity is about to meet the potential. Right?
Mm.
I think one of the most frustrating
Mm.
things I used to
Mm.
hear when I was a young adult was, "Oh, you just have so much potential." When
Yeah.
is potential gonna turn into something real?
Yeah.
When is potential gonna pay off?
Yep.
Because what does potential mean? And I'm working my behind off trying to make potential a real thing, right? But it's not. It ain't coming. and
Yeah.
I'm still in the abased. Okay. And I think you have to be patient, because if I had gotten then what I have now, I would have floundered it.
Mm.
I would have messed all over it. I would have threw it up in the air and said, "Let the money fall where it want to fall."
Yeah.
Who wants some?
Yeah.
Right? But when you get it, you will get it at the appropriate time, where
Yeah.
you are ready to place the appropriate value on what you get, because you will know the value of you. And so I think that there's just so many
Mm.
people out there who feel like they're in an in-between spot. And what I want to tell you is, patiently wait on the Lord. Patiently keep your feet planted until it's time to move. Because there will come things will come that will look like they are the thing. It's not the thing. You're going to
Um,
shortchange yourself.
you are 100. You are. I agree 100%. I was talking to I was doing I was on a panel recently, and
She's so smart.
talking to a group of young professionals in youth ministry. And so the moderator asked at the end, like, what's kind of one thing you want to leave with the group? And I told the group, I said, because we hadn't talked about this at all, right, the whole time. And I said, hey, this is going to seem out of left field. And I asked the question, I said, how many of you love what you do? I said, how many of you love working here and love what you do? And I had them close their eyes because I wanted to be honest. Everybody in the room, they shot their hand up. I said, okay, cool. And then I said, here's what I want to leave with you. I said, don't I don't know if I said exactly like this, but essentially, don't allow the fact that you don't make what you want stop you from doing what you love. How do you do that?
Mm.
You get good at managing what you have. You
Mm-hmm.
can maintain the job, the career path that you love, which for so many young people is helping other people, is serving, is doing something with purpose. And a lot of times that's not a lucrative, it's not a lucrative job. I've been in it for 15 years. It ain't. You're not going to make hundreds and hundreds of thousands. Most of us aren't going to do that, doing this kind of work. But you can feel like you do because you understand how to keep it. But you have got to you've got to put time into understanding the discipline of managing money. And
My Lord.
that's what I told them. And I was like, I know it's going to come out of left field, but I don't want anybody in this room to feel like I need to quit because I'm not making enough money when you love what you do. Afterwards, a young lady came up to me. She said, "You were talking to me because I was literally looking up jobs this morning because I don't make enough." And
Listen.
but she loves what she does. And she was like, I'm gonna stick it out. I'm gonna stick it out. Now, the thing to your point, Quita, and I'm saying this because um I've lived it and now I lead it. Okay. So I'm on both
That's good.
I've been on
Yeah.
both sides. As a young professional, you have so your career is just starting, and just understand that don't get sucked into this false narrative of the the leap into the next season of your finances. It is a step-by-step journey. Most of you, I'm not saying it's impossible, but most of you are going to step into it, not leap into it. And so
Mm-hmm.
don't get sucked into this culture that you see, right? The visible culture
Mm-hmm.
of money. Don't get stuck in that. And give yourself time to grow. You won't, but here's the thing. I think this is kind of this sounds like the theme of the podcast. You have to understand the concept of value
Mm-hmm.
if you're interested in making more money. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
understand that, you won't ever make more.
Yeah.
Um, and not only that, but you will actually make other people rich because they do.
Yeah.
And they understand that they understand because they understand what's valuable to you. And if you don't
Oh,
understand what's valuable to you, you'll give your money away as
listen.
opposed to making it. And so I want us to be so I want us I just I have to I want to speak to those of you that are in spaces that you love but
Mm-hmm.
aren't paying you what you want to be paid. Wait and work and you will get there.
You have to get to a space where you cannot be bought. You have to get to a
110%.
space where if somebody came to you and said, "I'm gonna offer you 10,000
Let
more
me tell you
dollars
something, man.
to do this," but what you don't realize is that when you leave that space, you don't know what you're leaving behind, and you get to a space where they will put a ceiling over you at that $10,000.
They will.
Where if you had waited and built up the value, when people, I want you to think of this, when people say you have so much potential, I want you to think of yourself as limitless.
Mm,
Go make your next move somewhere that feels limitless, even
yeah,
if it's not as much money as you want it to be. What are the opportunities that are there? What are the freedoms that are there? Who's there that could be your lifeline to your next thing?
that's right.
Right? Who's that? The job that I have right now, at first I was like, it was, of course, it makes more money than the position I had before, right? But it doesn't make as much money as some other people around me was moving into. And I was like, all right, all right, they got 10,000, 20,000 more dollars than me. But I took this role because one, I knew it was going to build a skill set in me that
Mm-hmm.
one wasn't as strong, right? I knew that it was going to give me a level of exposure and a level of respect in academia that my other position wasn't going to give, right? I knew that it was going to give me a level of access to people that normal people don't always get to have access to, and I'm around them every day.
Mm,
Right. And I knew it was going to be an opportunity to be mentored by somebody who is bomb.com. Shout out to my boss. Right. I knew that it was going to be and mentored without any type of allegiance or ties.
yeah.
But just because I'm in the vicinity, right, I get to feed off of her greatness.
Mm,
Right.
mm,
And I took the role, and I could not be more pleased with the level of freedom that I have, right? Freedom for God to do other things in my life, like this podcast, right? Freedom for me to continue this PhD program, right? And the freedom to grow,
yeah.
the freedom to be launched into my next level. It's a launching pad. May your next move be limitless. And if you are basing your next move only
Mm,
on the fact that it's going to pay you more money, you have put a limit on what your next opportunity can be.
man.
Right? You have
No.
to make moves that feel limitless.
Yep.
Like this role, like if you put me on a launch pad and tell me I'm a rocket ship, right? As soon as that thing fires, I don't even know how high I can go.
Mm,
Right? Because I've never been to that height before. That's what you want your next role to feel like. Like it is a rocket launch pad, and I don't know how high this can go, but I know I'm going up. And I promise
mm.
you, let me tell you something, and I'm gonna be 100% honest. God can bless you financially in many ways, in many, many, many ways. It does not just have to be a bigger paycheck.
That's right.
Your life can drastically change without you having to change position at all.
Mm-hmm.
Do not depend on a new job to be the answer to your financial problems.
That's really good.
That was something that we learned at the kitchen table that we need to let go of,
Yeah.
right? The generation before us, and they talk about us. They talk about millennials and Gen Z and Generation Alpha. We still watching y'all. We on y'all. Okay, we trying to figure y'all out, right? But Gen Z and millennials, oh, they talk about us. They say they don't know how to work. They right? They say they don't get out there and do the things. All they do is complain, complain, complain. But they are the ones who taught us that work equals money, that more
Yeah.
work equals more money. And we watch them wear themselves out for these companies that did not value them,
Yeah.
right? That placed a high level of value on their work, right? But they didn't really get as much value out of it. And so we are a generation. Sorry, I apologize for these AirPods, y'all. I'm gonna figure it out one day,
Don't you worry about
right?
it.
But we are a generation that was destined to build. right? If you drive around your city right now, I want you to go drive to the city after the pandemic, drive to all of the businesses that had to close. That's what I want you to do. I want you to go look at the empty buildings that
Yep.
still, even after the business closed, nobody else said, you know what I want
Right.
to do?
Right.
Build another storefront,
Right.
right? Because a season has passed.
Mm-hmm.
And we are a generation where there once was no land to build on, and now there's plenty. Now there's open real estate around. There's open space for us to come in and build new infrastructures, new ways of doing things, new ways of operating in the world. And our generation has and when I say generation, I mean the generation of people that are present and are of working age right now. Our generation has the opportunity, right, to build something brand new. But
Yeah.
you cannot do that if all you're focusing on is, well, if I do this, I'm gonna get $5 more an hour, and that's gonna
Yeah.
change the game. It's not.
Yeah, it's not, man. And this kind of tags back to the normal piece because understand what Quinn and I are talking about. Let's just be very honest. It's not the normal conversation. You're going to get more
Mm-hmm.
people that are going to tell you not to think like this than you are to for people to tell you to think like it. You're getting more people to tell you, "No, you deserve more, girl. You need to go for that raise." Da, 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 da. You gonna get more people to tell you that. Like, just understand, you're gonna hear that more often than you're gonna hear what we're saying, and I understand why because that is
Mm-hmm.
normal. That is a normal mindset. It's what we have been taught as normal. Two things that you ought to fight for your paycheck, and that you get that your the job, right, is your source. That, like,
Mm-hmm.
for it, that is your source. That's how you get. And in practicality, yeah, that's true for most of us. But when you
Mm-hmm.
live as if that is the limit, that is your ceiling. Your
Mm.
job is your ceiling, your paycheck is your ceiling, your ability to negotiate is your ceiling. If that's how you're living, then you have missed an opportunity to be limitless, like Quita was saying. But
My
you have to
Lord.
choose to do that. Like, you have to choose to do that, which means you're going to have to choose to limit yourself for a season. And see, people don't want to talk, man. Let me people don't want to talk about that. It drives me crazy.
My
We you
Lord.
know we you have to be willing to limit yourself for a season. um I I I'm grateful for I'm grateful for my mom. I'm gonna shout her out real quick because she taught me what being frugal meant. She taught me what being very, meticulous with my money meant. And I want to shout out my dad because he taught me the principle of generosity. That
Mm.
they and those two things are not mutually exclusive. When you can learn how to be responsible and wise with what you have, and
Mm-hmm.
at the same time have an open hand to be generous, you don't worry about what's coming to you. You don't. It's just not something that is,
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about, in Matthew 6, where it talks about, like, hey, don't worry about what you're gonna eat and what you're gonna wear. Like, people who don't fool with God worry about that. But if you fooling with God, you don't gotta worry about none of that, right?
Fooling with God is a
Okay, you know
different
what?
way of
Go
saying
with
that. Go
it.
ahead.
Go
Go
with
ahead.
it.
Go
Go
ahead. Go
with it.
ahead.
Go
Go
with
ahead.
it. Okay.
I'm with you. I'm
Um,
with you. We don't
but
fool with the Lord, though.
Okay. All right. Thank you. If you rock with God, is that better? Then you
No.
it is today. If you rock with God, you don't have to worry about none of that stuff. Like, it's not something you have to be overly concerned about because it will be taken
Mm-hmm.
care of. And then it goes on to say you can't serve God and serve money. You
My Lord.
cannot just you can't bow down. You can't put God on your heart and money on your heart. It's got to be one of the two. And so most of us who grew up in America, who have grown up in Western society, and who have grown up with Western theology, whether we want to believe it or not, have lived most of our lives with money on our throne, not God. Because we don't believe God when he says, I'm going to take care of all your needs. because we want more than our needs. We want all that
Yeah.
other stuff too, right?
And
And so
listen, God wants you like this is
God,
not, we're not promoting a life of
well,
destitution.
hold on. Let me, no. I
Okay, go
no,
ahead.
that's no. I'm yeah. No,
Get
we're
where you
not.
going, friend. Get where you
No,
going. Go
we're
ahead.
not talking about that. However, I do think that again, we're not talking about a life of destitution. It's not about being destitute, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be destitute. And I think that's the thing. Like, we're not going to be when your mindset is not fixated on dollars and cents, which I'm not saying that's hard to do. And again, this is not stuff you're going to hear from most people. When it's not fixated on it, and you can learn how to manage your mindset and fixate it on God and his provision, then you will have all that you need. And all that you need isn't living a life of just of nothing, right? No, that's not the point. It's not. But we also can't put out this false understanding that living a life that God wants will also give you abundance of money. That is, these are, neither one of those is true. And it's not that it can't be true. Absolutely, you can have an abundance of money and you can have a lack of money, but it doesn't mean that you have to lack what you need. That's and
Mm-hmm.
that is a hard thing. It's a hard concept, but I will say that I think generations before us have shown us that that's true, and they've shown us um, how we can move in seasons where the finances are lacking, but our resources aren't lacking. And
Mm.
that those two things don't have to be the same thing.
Yeah.
But when we have this mindset of I got to have a bigger paycheck, I got to have the right job, the right career move in order to have my needs met, and we start fixating on that, we sell ourselves short. You actually you undervalue yourself, so you're not able to bring value to the place you're in, not at the level that you could, because we have put ourselves in a position financially to where I have to have the 5,000. I gotta have that extra because I have to pay for the life that I went after before I was ready for it.
My Lord.
And so those are just realities that a lot of us have found ourselves in. And if you find yourself in that position, there is a way out of it, but you have to work your way out of it.
Yeah.
And if you find yourself like headed in that position, you can stop and say, okay, I'm going to choose I'm going to choose to I'm going to choose to remain in the position I am, not necessarily look and seek for more right now. I'm not going to seek for more. I'm going to seek to give more. I'm going to seek to give more
Mm.
value, because when you do that, the people who find the value that you put out will, I'm telling you, they're going to take care of you, because value sees value, and that's the exchange you want. I don't want you to exchange the paycheck. I don't care about your paycheck.
Yeah.
I want to get to a point, and I'm grateful that I feel like in some ways I have worked way, and it's a working thing. You have to work your way there. I'm grateful to have had the steps and to have opted into the steps to work my way to a point where it's a value exchange. I'm no longer exchanging dollar for dollar. It's a value thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not concerned about that. I'm willing to give value because I know that that eventually will pay off, and they'll pay off in different ways, right? It's not just about a paycheck, and I don't have to look for that. Um, so I want people to understand that. I really want young people to get that. Your life will be so much more abundant if you can understand that, and you're not going to find it around most of your community. They're not going to think that way.
Yeah.
They're just not. And you're going to have to say, I'm going to think that way. I'm going to be the lone person to do the thing that nobody else is doing,
Mm-hmm.
and then be a blessing once you're out. And
Man.
you
Whew.
know, do that. Choose that path, y'all. Don't choose the normal
Listen.
path. Choose that one.
Listen, I want to share something with y'all, okay? So I have been working on a few things that God is helping me to get together, because I want to reiterate to all of you that the water is stirring. Okay, pay attention to what God is doing. Okay, God is writing his own things in the heavens. Okay, that's about to
Yeah.
come down into the earth. So pay attention to what God is writing. And that's all I'm gonna say about that right there. But I have been being pushed by God. I'm in a season where God is like, go now, right? And so I was working on something. I needed to get my deck fixed because again, God is about to make moves, and I was like, the deck has to be fixed. And I was at Lowe's, and I was buying a butt ton of like wood, deck wood, and nails and paint. And I was like, Lord, this is a lot of money. And I was just like, am I doing the right thing? And I was stressing in my mind over it. And I was praying, and I was like, Lord, I don't know if this is what if I should be doing. I'm nervous.
Mm.
I told the Lord, I said, I'm nervous. And the Lord said, that's your feeling. It's not mine.
Yeah.
That's your emotion. That's not how I'm processing this moment. And you have to know, in the moments where it feels like you're making the unpopular, scary decision, or it feels like you're out here on your own on a ledge doing something that doesn't make sense, but in your heart, you
Mm.
know it's what you're supposed to be doing. The thing that you feel unsure about, God is very certain about because he wrote it, right?
Mm.
Because he authored your life and your destiny and your purpose, and he's authoring the next move of your life. And where you feel uncertain because you can't see the end of the story, God is very sure.
Very
And
much so.
so you will come to a point in your life, whether it's financially, whether it's emotionally, whether it's spiritually, physically, relationally, you will come to a point in your life where you will have to lean on the surety of God, and realize that just because you feel like this time in your life is risky because it feels like you're doing the unpopular thing, you have to say, it may feel risky to me. That's not how God is seeing the situation,
Mm-hmm.
right? It may feel like I don't have enough. That's not how God is seeing it, right? God is not looking at your situation being like, I don't know if she gonna make it.
Yeah.
I don't know if she gonna have what she needs. He's not watching saying, I wonder what's gonna happen, right? The Lord is sure about who you are, what he put inside of you, and what he has for you.
Yeah.
And when you start tapping into your value, when you start tapping into the things of value that God wants to place in your life, and the place, the position that God wants to put you in, when you start tapping into that, you have to stay in the flow of God, because it's going to feel scary because it is unfamiliar.
Yeah.
But just because you may feel nervous about it, or you may feel unsure about it, I want to encourage you in this season of faith to tap into, well, God, how do you feel about where I am right now?
Mm.
And lean on that.
So, a callback to our last season. If you aren't sure what kind of value you can add, try taking some of these personality assessments. Okay.
Yo,
Um,
good tip.
and whether it's Strength Finders or the Six Geniuses or Myers Briggs, just give yourself some language as to what you can be tapping into, and begin to lean into some of the things that feel the most relevant and authentic to you. Right, like you'll get a bunch of um results, and that's fine, but there are going to be
Mm-hmm.
some that you really connect with, and lean into that, because that you're going to see the value that you add, not just at your job but to other people, to
Mm-hmm.
their lives, and like making who how you show up about others more than about you, is what is that's
Ooh.
where that value add
Mm-hmm.
is the most
Mm-hmm.
relevant, and um it's going to make the most difference. And
Yeah.
I think that's also one of the beautiful things about approaching your finances the way we're discussing it, is that it allows you to put your focus on somebody else, and not sit here and worry about what it is you do and don't have, what it is you can and can't do.
That's
Like,
good.
you don't want to live a life where you're constantly worried about the fact that you don't have enough. So,
Mm-hmm.
and for let me say this, because I don't want it to sound insensitive. Some of you, it might be that way right now. You may not have enough. That is real.
Been there.
That is real. Been there, man. We both been there. When it's like I genuinely don't have enough. Like literally. But if when you pour yourself into others, I don't know if I shared this story before, but I'm gonna share it, and I know we're coming up on time, and we're about to. But I want to share this because this was an example in my life where I think the relationships, it helped me in my not enough time. Me, Jaquita, and our friend Ashley, we went on a trip.
I knew this was coming.
You knew this was coming, and I think
Yeah.
I've told this before. But we went on a
Yeah.
trip, and we went on we got a Groupon, went to Florida. We were all broke. None of us really could do this, and I came back.
Never should have happened.
Never should have happened. This was like a 40. That's like a 48 hour trip. It was just crazy. Came back, realized I didn't have my bank account was in the red. This is not the first time. I mean, this is after a few times of it being in the red. And I just got to a point where I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. I was living with Ashley. Quita was living in Nashville, and me and Ashley were living in Memphis. We were roommates. And I told her, I said, I'm gonna have to move in with my parents because I can't afford this life. Like I'm going crazy. I got these student loans I got to pay. I got this car payment I got to pay. And I'm making less than $30,000. Okay. I can't do it. And so I remember the next morning or a couple mornings we went to Chick-fil-A and we sat, I remember the seat we were on. I remember where we were. I remember the seat we were in. And she said, okay, I've been thinking. And Ashley was a teacher. And so I was working in youth ministry, and she was making slightly more than I was. Okay. She wasn't like balling, but she was making more than I was. And she said, I'll cover more of the rent, and so that you have enough to pay off your car before, so that you don't have to move. Because the reality was, like, Ashley was like, hey, it's going to be harder for me. You know what I'm saying? And so, let me say, I mean, and I give glory to God. I shout out Ashley for that moment, because it wasn't just about my bills being paid. It really wasn't. Like, because really, I could have moved in with my parents and been fine, but it was about God showing up in a relationship that we had had mutual value for years, to where one of us was in a bind and the other one did not hesitate to be the answer to my problem. And when you are able to show up as a value add in other people's lives, there are answers to your problems in people. Yeah. And you don't even realize it. And so I know people that are that don't. Case in point, there is a parent of one of my students. We had a conversation the other day, and she's been having car trouble. And I've been trying to understand. Anyway, she's having car trouble. Car's been sitting in the driveway for 2 months. She doesn't have the money to pay for it. And I've been trying to get some help finally. And quite frankly, I have been kind of slack on it, to be honest with you. Christmas break came, and I just kept getting behind. And finally, I was reading the other morning, and I woke and I reading, and I said, I can't keep reading. She's come to my mind. I need to figure this out. Made a few phone calls and able to get her car to a shop to get looked at. So I called her and I walked her through the process. Said, this is what you need to do. Da, 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 da. And she was very appreciative. And I just said, you know what? I just want you to know, like, you have been such a blessing to us. This woman, she has supplied us with snacks for several times when she didn't have it. But she's bringing snacks to Angel Street because she's so appreciative of the value we add to her child. And even in that moment where she's looking at a situation with her car that she can't afford, she asked me, do y'all need snacks? I'm sitting here like, ma'am, this is not the priority. We're going to take care of this car. But her mind wasn't on her. It was on other people. And I said, I want you to know you have been such a blessing to us. I'm going to do everything I can. And so that like, it's an exchange of value. We can buy snacks, But the value of a relationship where we can pour into her child, and she has the opportunity to add value to Angel Street in the way that she can, creates a situation to where somebody, if with one of us um has a problem, the other one can be an answer. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that is, I want you to know your relationships, most of the time, is going to be the answer to whatever financial problem you have. But
Mm-hmm.
if you spend too much time worrying about your paycheck and your dollars, and not the people around you, you won't have answers when you need them.
Let me
And
tell you
your
something.
only answer will be asking for a raise or getting a new job. That'll be your only answer. And that's not how you want to live your life. And so I'm just grateful for the relationships. I'm grateful for that, because they have been answers to my financial problems more than my paychecks have. Honestly,
Come on here.
like
Yeah.
for real. So
Yeah.
just adding value. Remember that value, y'all. Be a value add to other
And
people.
think about value. Value accrues.
Yes.
Value multiplies.
Yes.
Right? Don't just keep trying to add money to your life. Get to a place where value can be multiplied in your life. Right? And that's what is happening in that mother's life.
Yes.
Because she is sowing into the future of her daughter, the value that's being added in her daughter will multiply.
That's right.
Value multiplies. Stop thinking about, oh, I just need to add this, and if I just had this, my life will change. No. Continue to build value, and one day you will walk into everything you've been asking God for,
I mean,
because it's
truly.
been accruing for you.
That's right.
You have an accrual, you have a bank account set up that is full of everything that God has for you. And when time and season align, you will meet everything you've been waiting for.
100%. I believe
But
that,
you
boy.
let me tell you something. You have to, I think one of the notes that I put in, I just would feel bad if I didn't say it, is you have to stop fighting for what's in front of you and allow God to start building for what's ahead of you.
Amen.
What you're fighting for is so much more than what you can imagine. So stop trying to build something that's in your mind and allow God to show you the picture he has for your life.
Yeah.
And you will start going after things that are valuable and not just things that are easy.
There it is. There it is. Clip that. All right. That was good. Um, that was good. That was good. That was good. I think
Listen, this was better than
this
I
was
thought
good.
it was going to be.
Yeah, you know what? I ain't gonna lie. It was a slow burn. You know what I mean?
It
It
was
was
a
a slow
slow
burn.
burn. Slow burn.
But we hit our stride. They're
Uh-huh.
about 20
Uh-huh.
minutes in. So
Listen,
if you
producer
listen,
Joy gonna get it right for y'all, all right?
yeah. We hit our stride right there, man. It was good. So all right, well, we're done. Y'all, like we said at the beginning, like, share, subscribe, comment, let us know. Let's build up the community, and let's keep unlearning together so that we can experience more freedom. We will see y'all next week. Peace, peace, and love.